The Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal is going to hold his first press conference since assuming that post as well. That's all happening in Mumbai. One of the big reasons for that meeting is the possible mergers of public sector banks. Here's my colleague Ashwin Mohan joining us with what it is that we can expect. This meeting that is being organized by SBI. Hi Ashwin, good afternoon. Do we have a sense of what the agenda is? An educated guess would be the bank mergers and reining in NPAs.
This is a pretty crucial meeting as far as Piyush Goyal is concerned, because it's his first official press conference as finance minister in Mumbai, and the agenda is really crucial because he's meeting the head honchos of 15 public sector banks. State Bank of India, the country's largest public sector lender, is playing host to the FM, and all the other 14 public sector bank MDs. And on agenda are a whole host of issues, because if you look at all the public sector banks, a majority of them have posted losses, led of course by Punjab National Bank, which posted the largest quarterly loss, followed also by SBI. So there is still a lot of stress in the system. The pace at which the IBC should have resulted in resolution, that's something that is not as fast as the government would have hoped it would be. There are also several banks that are under the RBI's prompt corrective action framework, and recently, of course, because of the RBI's guidelines, all these banks have to identify and report stressed assets and NPAs at a much advanced stage, and that's the reason why many of these banks are undergoing stress. Then, of course, you also have the entire topic of merger of the strong public sector banks with the weaker public sector banks. That could also be on the agenda. We at DT Now, of course, will keep you updated with all the updates from this crucial meeting later today, which is scheduled to begin in a few hours from now.
That's right. Stay tuned to ET Now. We will be live with Piyush Goyal's press conference at 4 p.m. He's going to be chairing that press conference with the Banking Secretary, Rajiv Kumar. It's also the first time you're going to see Piyush Goyal, not just as Interim Finance Minister, but since the RBI monetary policy. So stay tuned for that. Now, just ahead of this, 24 hours ahead of this crucial meeting, SBI's top boss has spoken on mergers. When I say SBI has already become big, my view is that from a systemic risk point of view, it won't be advisable that SBI grows through merger or acquisition. Our normal growth and maintaining a market share is a different matter. You can't have a banking institution which already has over 20% market share. This is Rajneesh Kumar, Chairman of SBI, who's spoken about bank mergers. What's crucial is, of course, he's talking about an SBI perspective. Unlikely that SBI is even a candidate for any further mergers and acquisitions. You're seeing the smaller banks that are being discussed as far as this goes, like Ashwin was just pointing out. In fact, let's take this further with Siddharth Purohit, who tracks the banking sector so closely at SMC. Hi, Siddharth. Good afternoon. It's Nayantara. This entire week, we've been reading reports about how there may be certain candidates in the fray for bank mergers. These are, of course, the smaller banks. I don't think SBI will be a candidate at all. So when you leave out SBI and the larger ones, do you think this is the right way to go? And do you think, the Modi Sarkar will even do this ahead of 2019 general elections?
Yeah, hi. In fact, this issue of banking merger has arisen many times before also. And somehow it has not really materialized over the last many years. Though the government has time and again raised the issue, then it has gone into back burner. But what I believe is that right now, personally, I see that the merger really not happening in the near term. First of all, the reason being, most of the banks' balance sheet right now is really not strong enough to bring any sort of synergy, even if there is any sort of merger. Now, SBI is in a different league altogether now after the merger of the associate banks. Now, when you try to merge some two set of weak banks with another third weak bank, then certainly the result is not going to be very positive either. So what I believe that, possibly government might be taking kind of, view of different bankers, if at all that is the agenda today then, that how basically the industry should come out of the stress that is being kind of, observed right now. And that could be one of the prime agenda for the minister meeting the head today. Now, as far as merger is concerned, I believe that, it is not that easy also, given that, there will be a lot of so-called synergy that we always talk about. But actually, the synergy, it takes many years to be seen. And in case of PSU banks, again, it might take much more than that. So I think it might just be a preparation of that. So I cannot say that, if there will be any outcome of this, whatever merger news every time we, hear. So my sense is that maybe the ministry would talk more about rectifying the balance sheet and how that, credit growth should
So
start.
let me just interrupt you there. So let me just interrupt you there. Yes, of course, I'm sure they're going to discuss how credit offtake can be increased, what the bank's strategy is in light of the 25 bips rate hike that we've just seen, where NPAs are, where monetization is at, etc. That those would be obvious agenda items. But I want to get a sense of what the market is thinking as with respect to the mergers, which is an idea that had been floated by this government itself. Earlier this week, for example, we heard that perhaps Bank of Baroda, IDBI, OBC and Central Bank of India could be the candidates in the fray. Have the markets dismissed that altogether, saying it's not going to happen in the short term?
I don't think this merger thing is going to happen anytime soon, and at least during the next 1 year or so. It is very unlikely. The fact is that, as I earlier said, that, the primary concern of all these banks is, the availability of capital and growth. So even if, you just go and merge this set of banks, the problem will not get solved. So that is not really is going to be and even if, there is any announcement of merger, then market will look forward that how the capital adequacy ratio is or maybe, capital issues is being resolved and growth being, kind of, driven. So those are major factors what market will look forward rather than some announcement of which bank getting merged with other. So because time and again we have heard this coming up in the news, but it has never materialized. So from market's point of view, I would say that, there should be some more direction towards operating efficiency, increasing accountability, or maybe, resolving the asset quality issue, which already the government is doing. But if you take my view, then I don't think merger is something, which market is expecting at least over the next 1 year. And it is very unlikely that, it is going to happen during this 1 or maybe 1.5 years kind of time frame.
What about the banks under the prompt corrective action, Dena Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, all of these ones, Punjab National Bank, they've been able to prevent, I would imagine they will also come up for discussion. But do you think they could also be candidates for mergers or for asset sales, etc.?
See, almost a large part of the banking system, except for the large one, are under now PCA. So certainly this cannot continue forever. If the credit growth has to happen, then banks have to, all banks have to participate. But there are criteria set up by the regulator. I mean, only satisfying those will allow these banks to kind of, start lending. Now, what I believe is that, just freezing the credit is not going to help even PSU banks. The reason is the operating cost will always be there and the cost to income ratio will further go up. So that will not solve the problem. So the ministry, along with regulators, might also discuss how this, to remove this stringent maybe norms, or maybe try to relax and at least allow selectively for the PSU banks to start lending to the industry. Because in that case, if this continues, this PCA continues, then PSU banks, which are already kind of losing market share, they will lose further market share compared to private banks, and that will not be a really that is not going to help their balance sheet in any way. So I think those all set of things will be kind of should be dealt during this meeting today. And as far as merger, as you said, which candidate and all, I think those could be those might come up as a discussion, but I don't expect any outcome of all this merger. till the time the balance sheet of these banks are rectified and growth starts picking up. Because end of the day,
Right.
any merger has to.
And I won't be surprised if the banks are going to once again, and let's not forget, Siddharth, I'm as an educated guess, of course, the banks will once again make a case for a higher recapitalization beyond what had been announced earlier. So stay tuned to ET Now. We're right on top of all of that. Siddharth Purohit, as well as other experts, will be joining us after Piyush Goyal's press conference at 4 p.m. after he, along with the banking secretary, meet with the chiefs of the public sector banks.